You see them, right? Drifting through the ocean like these alien ghosts. They're beautiful, totally silent, just mesmerizing. But what if I told you that behind that glowy, ethereal vibe is a life of, well, constant struggle? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on jellyfish and figure out why their stunning existence might actually be a kind of beautiful trap. Let's get into it. So let me just start with a wild question for you. What if I told you that one of the oldest creatures on this entire planet has, kind of cracked the code on biological immortality? Yeah, it sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it's a very, very real part of the jellyfish story. Just hang on to that thought for a minute. Okay, before we get to that whole immortality thing, we've got to cover the basics. And honestly, the most fundamental and frankly just bizarre thing about a jellyfish isn't what it has, it's what it's missing. I mean, check this out. We're talking about an animal that's been around for over 500 million years. That's way, way before the dinosaurs. And here's the kicker. They've managed all that time without a brain, without a heart, without even any bones. So how on earth does that even work? How do they operate? Well, the answer is something called a nerve net. See, instead of a central command center like our brain, they just have this scattered web of neurons spread all through their body. It lets them do the simple stuff, sense light, figure out which way is up, detect chemicals. But you gotta understand, it is an incredibly simple system. Here's a good way to think about it. Imagine a city where every single building has a smoke alarm, and they're all connected. But there's no central fire station. No one's there to coordinate the response. So if something happens in one part of the jellyfish's body, you get a local reaction right there, but that's it. There's no strategy, no learning, and definitely no complex thought going on. So, okay, they're basically simple drifters. But, and this is a big but, don't ever mistake that simplicity for being helpless. Because these things are packing one of the most sophisticated and crazy fast biological weapons on the entire planet. Seriously, just think for a second. What's one of the fastest things in the animal kingdom? Maybe a cheetah sprint? A falcon's dive? Yeah, those are insanely fast, but they don't even come close to what a jellyfish can pull off at a microscopic level. It's all thanks to this thing, a nematocyst. What it is basically a tiny, coiled-up, venomous harpoon packed inside a special cell. The second it's triggered by touch, it explodes outward in less than a millionth of a second. It's just a mind-blowing feat of biological engineering, all about speed and pressure. And to really wrap your head around that speed, just look at this comparison. A human eye blink, something we think of as happening in an instant, takes around 300,000 microseconds. The jellyfish sting? It's over in less than 1. It's so fast, it's almost impossible to even comprehend. But, and this is super important, fast doesn't always mean fatal, right? For most jellyfish out there, their sting is just a minor annoyance, like a little zap. But then you've got the infamous ones, like the box jellyfish. For them, that same microscopic harpoon delivers one of the deadliest venoms on Earth. We're talking about a toxin so potent it can kill a person in just a few minutes. All right, let's circle back now to that totally mind-bending idea we started with. You remember? The whole immortality thing? A creature that can literally defy death. But this isn't some comic book superpower. It's more like a biological escape hatch. And trust me, it comes with a huge catch. So for pretty much every jellyfish, life is a one-way street. It's simple. They start out as this little stationary thing called a polyp. Kind of looks like a tiny sea anemone. Then eventually, they bud off and become the free-swimming jellyfish, the medusa that we all know. They live their life, they reproduce, and then they die. That's the normal cycle. But you know how it goes in biology. For every rule, there's always an exception. And in this case, it's a creature that figured out how to literally hit the reset button on its own life. Say hello to Turritopsis dornis, better known as the immortal jellyfish. When this little guy gets old or injured or just too stressed out, it does something absolutely incredible. The adult medusa just collapses in on itself, sinks down to the ocean floor, and transforms back into its baby polyp stage. And from there, it can start its entire life cycle all over again. Wow. Okay, so here's the paradox, the big catch I mentioned. The word immortal sounds so powerful, doesn't it? But it's not a shield. This whole age reversal trick, it does nothing to protect them from the day-to-day dangers of the ocean. It can't help them escape a predator that's about to eat them or fight off a nasty disease. So the real kicker is, while they can technically live forever, most of them probably won't even make it through the week. And that really brings us to the heart of it all. Once you look past the superpowers and the weird biology, what you find is that a jellyfish's life is actually defined by just how incredibly vulnerable it is. I mean, they're facing a constant storm of threats. They are completely at the mercy of the ocean currents. They're on the menu for tons of other animals. They can get sick just like anything else. And on top of all that, they're trying to survive in an ocean that's being changed super fast by us, by humans. This chart really says it all, doesn't it? It just drives home how little control they have. Sure, a jellyfish can pulse its bell to move up and down a little bit, but its actual path through life, where it finds food, if it ever meets a mate, or when it bumps into danger, that is almost entirely decided by the ocean currents. They are 100% passengers, not pilots. And yeah, about those venomous defenses, well, plenty of animals have figured out how to get around them. As you can see here, sea turtles are a huge predator. They just chow down on them. But big fish and even seabirds will snack on them too. So that sting is really more of a deterrent. It's absolutely not a guarantee of safety. So, after all this, what's the final verdict on the jellyfish? Is it this incredible marvel of evolution, or is it kind of a biological dead end? Is it a supervillain of the sea, or just a helpless victim? Well, you probably guessed it. The truth, like always, is somewhere in between. Think about it. We see this stunning, ethereal beauty, but the reality is a life that's just run by simple, brainless reflexes. We get fascinated by this idea of an immortal superpower, but the reality is constant, crushing vulnerability. We might imagine some deadly hunter, but the truth is it's a passive drifter that just has to wait for food to literally bump right into it. And really, that's the main takeaway here. The jellyfish is an absolute triumph of simple design. I mean, it survived for 500 million years by basically being just good enough. But that incredible simplicity, it comes at a huge cost. The cost is a life with no control, no strategy, and no real way to escape from the constant tough struggle of just existing in the ocean. And so that leaves us with one last question to chew on. The jellyfish has achieved this incredible form of survival. It's ancient and, for one species, potentially endless. But when you don't have the ability to choose your own path, or to fight back and overcome challenges, is that truly living? It's something to think about, for sure.